Hey guys, welcome back to Creative Kendall. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my review and thoughts and opinions on One Tree Hill. So if you don't know what One Tree Hill is, it's an early 2000s show. It has 9 seasons, and I watched it on Hulu. So I'm pretty sure you can I always, whenever I'm trying to find a show to watch, or like if I see this certain show on TikTok that I think looks really good, I will Google it. I will search up that show name on Google, and then it will pop up like the streaming apps that it has or that it's on. So I think that that's really helpful. But since I'm doing this series, and I technically, it overwhelms me with the amount of opinions and thoughts that I have about it. And this show particularly has 9 seasons, so this might have to be 2 parts or 3 parts. I'm not sure. But I think this first part, I'm going to do seasons 1, because there's 9 seasons, I'm pretty sure. Let me check on my laptop if it's even going to work. I probably should have checked before this, but I think it's dead. Nope, it's not dead. Okay. But basically, One Tree Hill is like a early 2000s drama, and if you guys have ever seen the OC, it's very similar to that, but I think, my opinion on the OC, it was a good show too. I really liked it. I just wish it had gone on longer. In my opinion, I think if they wouldn't have killed Marissa off, I feel like it would have been better. I don't know. That's just my opinion though, because at the end of season 3, this is a spoiler, so at the end of season 3, at the end of season 3, I'm pretty sure there's 3 or 4 seasons. Let me look. Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to put my password in. I don't know why I can't think of it right now. There it goes. Okay. So, I can't have my laptop on forever because my charger, I'm such an idiot. I put my laptop charger in my box since we're moving pretty soon, I put my laptop charger in my box, and I didn't even think of it that I was going to need it, but now I need it because, yeah. And there's not much video ideas I can film other than when we go out shopping because, I can only film, reviews and stuff on TV series because, yeah. What was I gonna do? Oh, yeah. So, let me see how many seasons One Tree Hill has, and then I'll try to break it down into 2 parts or however many parts I needed to do. So, you can watch the show on, if you have a subscription to Hulu. That's where I watched it on. And then it looks like you can, if you have a subscription on Max, you can watch it. And it looks like if you have a subscription on Amazon Prime Video, a premium subscription on Amazon Prime Video, it looks like you can watch it. And then it looks like Apple TV, Vudu, but that's Apple TV and Vudu are $1.99, and then you can watch it starting from $1.99 on Google Play and Movies Store, and then YouTube is from $1.99. So, but there's a lot of shows that are based in like this. Let's see I don't know how long this went on. I know, yeah, okay. So there's 9 seasons, and the first season started in 2003. So let me see. One Tree Hill. How long? When did the show end? Never mind. Hold on. When did the show end? Okay, it was 2012, so it went from 2003 to 2012. I was born in 2009, so yeah. But I did think that this show is really good. I kind of feel like why the OC stopped is because I feel like they were kind of competing because One Tree Hill already had so many seasons, and the OC only had 4 seasons, and it went till 2007. So but I also feel like that was the time when a lot of TV shows were like that, because Gilmore Girls even started or ended in 2007, and so did the OC. So I feel like due to One Tree Hill, those two shows mostly ended because they weren't as popular anymore, because One Tree Hill was getting more watched or more viewers. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I don't even know if that's true. That's just what I think. But yeah. But since there's 9 seasons, I don't know how I'm going to break this up. But I think I'm just going to go with the major parts. Now, this video is going to might be pretty long because it's already 5 minutes in. So I might have to do 2 parts. And these are I'm just going to show my favorite parts and the major events that had happened throughout the show. So in season 1, we get to meet the 4 characters. Or 5 characters. But there's like more side characters, I guess you'd say. So there's going to be some spoilers in here. So if you don't want spoilers, go watch it. Whatever. But I'm going to play with the fidget while I'm doing this. I have my little gummy bear Nito. My opinion is the first season we meet 4 of the characters. And do we meet 4 of them? I can't remember. But I just closed my laptop too. I'm going to read off to you guys the 5, I think there's 5 main characters. I'm pretty sure there's 5 main characters. Yeah, there's 5. So, first of all, there's 5 main characters. So, there's 5 different people in here. So, the first one I'm going to talk about is Haley James Scott. So, she is a best friend, and she is played by Bethany Joy Lenz. You can look up One Tree Hill, and the whole casting list is all on there. But Haley James Scott is played by Bethany Joy Lenz. And yeah, but the main character is Lucas Scott he's played by Chad Michael Murray. Pretty sure you guys should know who he is because he's a pretty popular actor, and he was really popular, I feel like, in the 2000s. Chad Michael Murray, who played Lucas Scott. So I'm just gonna say their names, their character names, and then I'll get into depth with I'll just show you guys who the actors' names were that played those characters. So Chad Michael Murray was he loves basketball in this show, and he's really good at it. But there's actually a fun fact. He was actually terrible at basketball while they were shooting a lot of the basketball scenes. So they had to make multiple shots of him just getting the ball right in the basket pretty well. Because he's terrible at basketball. So that's one fact that I did learn. But it's funny though because so Chad Michael Murray he lives with his mom. He lives with his mom, and he has a really great uncle named Uncle Keith. You get more in depth about him later on, but for that first season, yeah. And then you meet the 5 characters. So you have James Laffrey, who played Nathan Scott. He is kind of like the popular basketball boy, the jock, I would say. And then you have Sophia Bush, who played Brooke Davis. She is also she's like a popular cheerleader girl, and she's like girly girl, popular, dramatic, all that stuff. And then you have Hillary Burton, who played Peyton Sawyer. And Peyton's she's on the cheerleading team same with Peyton and Brooke are really close friends in the show, and so they have a lot of, I'm pretty sure that Sophia Bush and Hillary Burton have a lot of scenes together, just the 2 of them. But there's a lot of drama between their friendship that goes on throughout this whole season, or throughout this whole series. And then you have Lucas Scott, who's played by Chad Michael Murray, and you have Haley James Scott, who's Bethany Joy Lenz. So one of my favorite scenes is the wedding. I'm just going to start off from the very beginning. Okay, so James Laffrey, Nathan Scott, ends up getting tutored. Or the principal of the school says, okay, Nathan, in order to still play basketball, you need to get tutored to pass, to get the grades and stuff. And so he ends up so Haley James Scott is part of the, and in this first season, I don't actually think she had the last name Scott yet because it was just Haley James. But Bethany Joy Lenz, who played Haley James, they basically Nathan and Haley end up becoming like tutors. So Nathan's the jock, remember. Haley's the smart girl who tutors and smarts and knows a lot about things, as if Nathan is more basketball and she's a smart girl. And so yeah. But then basically, I guess the first episode is like you meet all 5 of the characters, and then you meet Chad Michael Murray, who plays Lucas Scott. And Lucas Scott isn't on the basketball team at school, but Nathan is. And so it's kind of, I guess you could say Nathan doesn't like the idea of Lucas coming onto their team, because it turns out that the coach ends up recruiting him, or not recruiting him. It turns out the coach ends up like saying, okay, do you want to come join us at the basketball game? We need an extra person. So that's what they do, and he comes in, and he's all like, he gets off to a rough start because not everybody likes him and knows him, and he's used to playing basketball with his friends outside of school. So he doesn't play it, like, he's not on the team. And so when they meet, Nathan doesn't like the idea because I would say he's jealous. He's worried that Lucas is going to take over his spot and Nathan's not going to be as popular anymore. But that's what I'd say he's worried about. And then it turns out that Nathan needs a tutor, and Lucas and Haley are really close friends. So they like been best friends for a long time. They've known each other ever since little kids, so they've known each other for a long time. And Nathan wonders, like, who is this girl he's always with? You know what I mean? Like, they're always walking around in school together. And he's always wondered that. So when he goes in to get tutored, or he goes into the tutoring room and he sees Haley's there, and Haley almost refuses him, that she's not going to tutor him, and then that she's not going to tutor him, and then she makes a deal with Nathan saying, okay, I'll tutor you if you can promise that you're going to be nice to Lucas. So it's kind of like, okay, well, blah, blah, blah. They end up going through with it, and they end up tutoring and everything, and then there's like a little, and then Lucas kind of gets a little bit mad, I guess you'd say, or worried for Haley, because Haley and Nathan end up really liking each other. So they end up like falling in love a little bit. And Lucas is Haley's best friend, so he doesn't know what to say to her because he's worried she's going to get her heart broken on this guy because he's just a jock. And you know what I mean? Because that's what they expect him to be, as a jock. And so then Lucas is like not with the idea of them being together. He doesn't like the idea of them. And then they end up falling in love, and they actually end up getting married in the first season. And they end up getting married, and Lucas is the first one to know, I think. And he's like confused about the idea. He doesn't think he just doesn't think it's gonna work out. So yeah. And then it turns out once Lucas gets on the team, well, before they met, so then with Peyton's on the cheerleading team, like I told you. So Peyton and Nathan were together before they met. In the first episode, you see them together because they were like a couple. And now Nathan and Haley are like really close. So now they two are there. So Brooke Davis is the dramatic one. She's on the cheerleading team, the popular girl that everybody wants to be. And the funny thing is later on in the seasons you get to see a lot more of Brooke, Peyton, and Haley. They just become really close friends, and they like love each other. They're like so close to each other and love them. And the funny thing is Brooke and Peyton were in Haley's wedding as her bridesmaids. And yeah, and then Nathan and Lucas end up becoming really close and get like super close, because it turns out Haley and Nathan end up having a kid later in the season. And they're still in high school, so when they and it's funny though, because she goes into labor right on their graduating day when she's in the middle of the speech, because she's supposed to give this speech. When she's in the middle of the speech, she ends up going into labor. And so they take her to the hospital. Everything goes okay. Everything's fine. But they're all like, okay, well, they're all like, well, whatever. And so they named their kid Jamie. And they do have a kid. And then they have, I'm pretty sure that Haley picked Brooke to be a god or godparents. And then and then Lucas is supposed to be like his uncle, I guess. But they have a lot of really close friends too. So basically, any one of them is considered a friend. So then later you have Sophia Bush, who, and also through the high school years, a lot of the time you'll see, a lot of the time, a lot of drama between Sophie, Hill, or you see a love triangle, I guess you'd say, because Lucas, Peyton, and Brooke. So Peyton and Brooke really they end up liking Lucas, and they're kind of fighting over him, I guess you'd say, and he has to pick one of the ladies to be with. And Sophia Bush, who plays Brooke Davis, isn't like that happy about it, because it's like it kind of ruins their friendship, I guess, in a way. And then Brooke, at the end of a couple episodes, when they win the state championship game, she ends up telling Lucas, like, hey, go pick whoever you want to be with, because she can tell Sophia Bush can tell that the actor who, Hilary Burton, who plays Peyton, you can tell that Lucas and Peyton really like each other. Like, you can just tell. And so Brooke was jealous at first and didn't want anything. She hated the idea of them being together, because she thought that Lucas was always going to be her first love, and she thought that they were going to work out. They never did work out. It was off and on dating for them. And then Peyton and Lucas end up getting married and having a baby, and then they move away. And then once you get onto their years, Nathan ends up becoming an NBA star, a popular one at that, and he ends up basically in like the sixth season maybe. Nathan and Haley hit a rough patch, because Nathan was in a wheelchair because he got into a big bar fight at the bar, and he ended up getting chucked through the window, and so his leg doesn't work anymore, and he hates the idea of it. He starts hitting a depression side, where he starts drinking. And keep in mind, they also have Jamie, the little kid, too. So Haley's trying to Haley's trying to be a mother to Jamie, and he's too young to know what's going on. And Haley's also trying to tell Nathan, like, hey, if you're not going to stop drinking and be a good father to your son, then I'm going to leave you, and I'm going to get a divorce from you, because he shouldn't be around this stuff. And so Nathan ends up turning around and ends up becoming a good father, and they end up becoming a really loving family at the end. So then now we're going to get on to his dad, Dan Scott, because Dan and Nathan do not have the best relationship, however. So Dan really is obsessed with Nathan winning a state championship game. He doesn't care about his own child. Like, he doesn't. He failed, honestly. And the funny thing is Nathan Scott and Lucas Scott, they're actually related, because Dan Scott was the father, but Dan left Lucas and his mom to go be with Nathan and his mom. So they have different moms, but they both have the same dad. And so Dan honestly apologized really later. He says that he failed him, and they don't accept it because they think he's just going to fail them more. He's made a lot of major mistakes. It turns out he actually killed his Uncle Keith, or Lucas's Uncle Keith, because they were brothers. And he killed them, and they don't find that out. And Lucas is trying to figure out how he died, because there was a school shooting one day, and they thought that the kid that started the shooting killed Keith, but turns out he didn't. It was Dan who actually killed Keith. And Lucas comes to find that out and gets really mad and is like, dude, I hate you. And he gets so mad about it because his Uncle Keith was kind of like a father to him because he didn't have a father growing up. And so it's really devastating because it's the fact that Dan Scott killed Keith and that was the only father figure to Lucas, and you're going to kill him. You know what I mean? And he ends up finding out that it was Dan who killed Keith, and he gets really mad and just really, really upset with him and doesn't want to ever talk to him. And so, like, they don't, at the end of the show, and then at the end of the 9th season, Nathan ends up getting, like, held hostage, I guess. He ends up going on this plane trip, and he gets held hostage by these, like, 4 guys about basketball, something to do with basketball. And he basically goes missing because they don't know where he is. And so they all go on a hunt. And they all go on a hunt. 3 of them. Dan ends up finding out that Nathan is missing. And Julian, who is actually later on is Brooke Davis's husband. They end up getting married. And then you have you have Julian, Dan, and then you have Chris Keller. And Chris Keller he comes back at the last season, but during like the 3rd season, they hit a rough patch in their marriage, and this was before they have a baby. Haley and Nathan said, we're over it. Haley ends up joining singing, and he meets this guy named Chris Keller, and he likes Haley, you could say. He has a little crush on her, and then Nathan finds that out, and Nathan, of course, gets protective of her and doesn't want and hates the idea of her going on tour with this guy that he's afraid something's going to happen. And so Nathan goes, if you're going to go on tour, then you either go on tour and we're over, or you stay here and we're still together. And she decides to go on tour, and then Nathan ends up taking a walk, and he realizes, oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that. I'm regretting everything I just said. And by the time he runs back there, she's already gone on tour, and he can't find her. So, basically, yes. You have a little bit of time when it's like that there, but then they end up getting back together and have a happily married. They get happily married. But yeah. It turns out Dan ends up dying at the end of the 9th season after he ends up helping Nathan escape. And Nathan ends up regretting how much he hated him his whole life because now he's dying in the hospital. And Nathan is really not wanting him to die because he's regretting all of the mean things and all of the things that he's did to Dan, or all the mean things he said about Dan, and just regretting them all. And Dan is in the hospital dying, and he passes away, and Nathan gets sad, and the worst part, Haley called Lucas to tell him that, and Lucas didn't want to have any idea. He didn't care because he killed his Uncle Keith, and he didn't want to be there for his death. And I think it was because of his, he doesn't have the best relationship with him. He abandoned him, and then he killed his Uncle Keith. Sorry if you hear that. That's my dog. She's dreaming. She's sleeping. But yeah, that's basically the major points. There's some more major points, but I'm not going to go on about it. You guys will have to watch the show for yourself if that sounds interesting. But anyways, you guys, I love you guys so much, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and turn on the post notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. But anyways, you guys, I love you guys so much, and peace.